Okay, some footwork that we can do off of these. In general, when we're thinking about setting up counters, we don't want to be moving away from our opponents unless we're quickly taking an angle and coming right back in. We want to try to move in as best as we can, right, to close that distance and attack. So if Yazzy's throwing her jab at me, when she throws that initial jab, I can step my back foot out. If I'm trying to think about getting away from her or taking an angle around her body. All right, so again, if she jabs at me, I step my back foot out, and now I have this angle to continue to attack. Or, right, which is a little bit more complicated and a lot of people don't really think about, but you can close the distance as well perfectly off of this. Wrestlers think about this footwork a lot when they're shooting double legs underneath somebody's punch. They jab and they shoot underneath it with this exact footwork, but we can also use it to really effectively set up some boxing counters. So when she jabs at me, boom, I step my lead foot in, as if it's going right in between her feet. Let's do that again in slow motion. So as she's jabbing, my head is still going out, but you can see my foot step almost directly between her feet here, right? I'm closing that distance. Now from this angle, right, I'm right underneath her to set up a short uppercut, right underneath, right, attack the body, right? Or continue into that double leg like I was mentioning. So that footwork and timing that underneath the jab is really, really cool if we can get that off. Not to mention, right, again, I slip as I step in, right, I can close in for a body lock. And look where my position is, right behind her arm. It's going to be, sorry, squishing the mic. It's going to be really hard for Yazzie to start defending herself. Another application, as I step that foot in, I can frame off on the back of her arm, right, and have a lot of control of your opponent that way. Boom, to set up lots of strikes. Sorry, it's Nectar. So again, right, that framing variation, I slip, right, and as I come up, I'm controlling the behind her behind her arm here on her tricep and pushing it across her body. All right, this forces Yazzie to either turn the other way or she has to figure out some way to free her arm, usually by shooting it away and then wrapping it back around again. But I can have a lot of control of somebody just from this position here. You'd be surprised how much you can manipulate a person's movement just with that control, especially when we're thinking about purely boxing or kickboxing, striking sport. Same idea from when she's throwing the cross. When she's throwing this cross at me, I want to be able to time my footwork, or rather time my head movement with this front foot stepping. So when she throws the cross, as I'm slipping, boom, I take a little step with this lead foot to help me either take an angle or close the distance. So again, I take a little step to the outside. Now I should have a little bit of weight on this front foot so I can effectively shuffle through to set up whatever counters I want to do, or even right off that angle, come back with a lead shovel hook, come back with a lead uppercut, right? Or again, like I mentioned, frame right behind your opponent's arm. You have to be able to time the movement of that cross going out and pivoting into it. So I get a lot of control on our opponents when we do this. And again, we're not dropping the hand. Even if we're thinking about countering, as I slip, I don't throw my hand away from myself. If we're thinking about fundamentals and doing this as clean as we possibly can, I keep my hands tight as I slip, and then I can turn back with whatever shots that I want to throw for boxing or if we were getting into kicking. So if Yazzie's throwing a jab cross at me, I slip to the outside, and then immediately from this position, she's going to be aiming at where I'm at now. She's not going to be aiming at where I'm going, so don't get too dramatic and whip your head all the way over to here, right? So when Yazzie initially throws that jab, if she follows up with a cross, boom, she's aiming to where I am in this position. So, all right, when she jabs, boom, she's throwing a cross back to where I was. So I shouldn't need to go as far as it feels like you should, okay? It's almost like you're going back to the same position that you were in before, maybe slightly off to the side, but not as dramatic as leaning all the way over. You don't need to go 1, 2 to slip a jab cross. It's 1, 2, all right? It's very short. So again, she goes jab cross, all right, just on the outsides of that punch as best as we can. Then we can mix in some footwork. If we do it on the first step, then I'm going to jam up her cross. All right. She doesn't have the opportunity to even throw that punch anymore. I just did a video on Jean-Yves Theriault, and he does this a lot. He'll crash in to prevent their opponent from setting up their counter. So, or I can do it on the second step. right, or this angle, please. All right, I slip the first one, right, and then as she's coming in with the second, I step off and pivot. All right, that's okay. All right, just like that. Or again, if I step in on the first jab, I'm going to prevent her from even throwing her cross. All right, there's no way that she can throw a cross anymore. Let's say she throws a double jab. So the first jab, I'm going to be consistent in slipping just to the outside of it. And as she reloads to throw that second jab, I'm probably not going to commit to going deeper to the outside of that strike. She's jabbing first. Right, for the first one, I slip my head to the outside. She's aiming at where my head is now for that second jab, and then I can come back to the inside. And we have to anticipate by that point that a cross is going to be coming, or, all right, I slip again. All right, she throws that cross, and then I continue to move to the outside of it. All right, you get off the center line with your slipping so they don't even have the opportunity to set up that cross. So if she's aiming for my face for that first jab, I slip to the outside. She throws the second jab, and now I'm on the inside, but almost right in the middle. And when that last cross comes, I still have some space to move for that last slip. So if she does it in real time, right, it looks like 1, 2, 3. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, versus just 1, 2. And when she throws that right hand, I have nowhere to go anymore. Again, this is about being as subtle as we possibly can with the defense so we can save more room and space for other defenses we want to do in the future. We don't want to lay all our cards on the table with the first movement and give them a lot of time to set something else up. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching that. Make sure you check out some of our other breakdown videos where we really go into the nitty-gritty of every little technique, and then also our drilling videos where we learn how to apply those techniques that we just learned. That's the way that we're going to get better through all of this. You learn something, and then you learn a way to apply it so we can sort of break it down into its individual parts. Anyways, if you could like the video, leave a comment on maybe something you want to see in the future done on this channel for a breakdown or a drill, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.